I'm starting to record now, and here we are, some more arriving. That's good. Right. Couple more. Okay, we're at there's 16 of us now. Just one more minute and then we'll get going, and we'll begin with after I do a short introduction to what we're doing, we'll do a land acknowledgement so that we can recognize where we are and what our requirements and obligations are to the treaties. And then if my voice stays, we'll have a presentation and a conversation about AI. It's obviously just water, not a gin and tonic, but that's a good idea. Okay, I think we'll get going. There may be others joining as I let them in as they arrive. So I'm Steve Murgatroyd. I'm your host for today on behalf of REACH, the Council for Safe Communities in the City of Edmonton. And as always, we begin our conversations and dialogue with a land acknowledgement. So over to you.
Yes, thank you, Stephen, and welcome everybody. My name is Ria Nakai. I am a project coordinator at Reach Edmonton. Usually Kelly is the one hosting the supporting this gathering, and but she's currently away, so I am stepping in to support cover. And so while we are meeting virtually today. I think many of us, and including myself, I think we live and work on a traditional, diverse indigenous communities, including Cree, Dene, Nakota Sioux, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, as well as Métis and Inuit land, also known as Treaty 6 territory, or Amiskwaciwâskahikan. Yeah, just it's always opportunity for me to ground myself here. I come to this land as an uninvited visitor almost about over 15 years ago, and I'm just really grateful that I'm able to build my family here on a land where Indigenous elders and communities have taken care of, including the land, the air. We hear the strong wind today, and the water, everything around us on this beautiful land. So, and land acknowledgement is also always for me great reminder to have the intentional to be intentional about building relationships. So I have some familiar faces on here, so I'm really happy that I gotten to know some of you, and I'm really hoping to get to know what you do, because we are in different pockets of this nonprofit sector. We have specific demographics to serve, but we are, I think, facing, the same direction, thriving, trying to create a thriving and healthy society and communities for everyone. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. And back to you, Stephen.
Thank you very much. On a typical day, there are 200,000 meetings in Alberta, so this is one of them. 25,000 of them are virtual every single working day, and which is the long tradition of the Indigenous people to have this as a meeting place. So welcome. Okay, we begin by simply asking who's in the room, and I want you to say quickly who you are and what connection you have to AI, if any. So who are you, and what are you or your shop doing with AI right now? So we'll start with Paula because we know her sound works.
Hey, I'm Paula McKinley. I'm standing in for Douglas Parsons from Autism Edmonton, our training coordinator. So I'm going to be taking good notes for him to see the answer to that question, but also that I think for us, working with the autistic community, we really want to train them on how to, um, first of all, identify AI and avoid being scammed would be one of our true goals.
Good. Yeah, I have a grandson who is on the spectrum, and I just wrote something about this yesterday on LinkedIn about special needs kids and so on. So we'll send you that later on. Who's next? Leslie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Mutsky. Pronouns are she, her. I'm clearly with the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton in Fund Development. My direct work connection to AI, we use Blackbaud NXT for our donor management system. And so there's a lot of AI capabilities built right into that to kind of allow this person wearing 8 hats to do a better job. And then obviously on the other side of our work, AI comes into some of the social media content sharing things that would happen around sexual assault and that type of work that we're doing in education.
Okay, thank you. Ria, do you use AI at Reach? Are you using AI in your work?
Yes, not a whole lot, but yeah, with Copilot getting kind of first draft of documents, report, emails, and but yeah, looking forward to what other opportunities or other tools that I can learn today.
Okay, thank you. Michelle.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Michelle Harvey. Pronouns are she, her. I'm Director of People and Culture here at Reach. My connection with AI is, I would say, pretty much on a daily basis, mostly constructing emails, just small tasks like that. I did do the leadership course with Stephen, and every session he introduced a new AI tool, which I just haven't had the time to dive into. So looking forward to this to just kind of refresh, and maybe there's some new things. So good to see everybody.
Great. Sherry Lynn, introduce yourself and what's the connection to AI that you have, if any?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sherilyn Trumpeter. Pronouns are she, her, and I'm with the Edmonton Community Foundation. We are currently gathering what types of AI people are currently using. There isn't a standard AI policy or anything in place as yet, but we are dabbling and curious, but also very cautious about implications of AI and ensuring and wanting to ensure that we're not putting sensitive material and feeding the feeding the system. So that's so it's we're curious but not completely on board as yet.
Yeah, you don't want to feed the beast. Anne Marie.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for this meeting. I think we'll all learn a little bit. My name is Anne-Marie Thivierge. I'm with the Edmonton Neighbor Watch Program Society. I'm the president. I'm from being from a law firm is something that for me personally, we try to engage in. But for the Edmonton Neighborhood Watch Program Society, we're planning updating process regarding the policy and how to use AI and the implications of the positive and negative part of AI. And we're looking to engage someone to come in and speak to our volunteers as well as our staff and board members on AI components, because it's important that AI is great in many ways, but there's other complications that if you're not aware of what you're using AI, it could be implied. It could be a little bit frustrated in many ways, but right now we're looking into updating our AI processes and policies. But yes, we have to embrace AI, and I think it's a positive thing for our organization. But it's basically what we should use AI for. That's the question.
Yeah,
Thanks so much.
thank you. Jonathan.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, my name's Jonathan Leeming. I'm the Director of IT with the Family Center in Edmonton. I'm currently joining this meeting from beautiful Kelowna, but it's wonderful to be and to meet everybody here. As far as the Family Center goes, we have frontline staff that are using it in a very limited capacity, being very cognizant of the confidentiality of the client data and things like that. At a higher level within the organization, we formed a committee to oversee AI, come up with our revisions to our organization's policies to incorporate AI, and also for other standards that we have to adhere to. So basically, I'm joining the meeting to look for options and just see what everybody else is doing and how we can support our organization, both at the operational level and at the administrative level.
Good to see you again, Jonathan. Thank you. So what we're doing for those who have just joined is a quick introduction. Who are you? Where do you work? What's the kind of AI position in your organization? So, Adrienne.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Hill, she, her. I am also with SACE with Leslie. I'm the communications manager, and right now, most of the time, AI, I've been using it for more creative because I do all the graphic design as well. So some fun videos, that sort of thing. And but we're just dipping our toes in. So yeah.
Right. Good. Cindy.
Hi there, nice to meet you, and nice to see everybody. I am the People and Culture Coordinator here at Reach, and I use AI daily basically to reconstruct emails and to create some pictures and stuff for our monthly newsletter. So I'm looking forward to learning some new tools. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next up is Serena.
Hi everyone, my name is Serena. I work at Gateway Association here in Edmonton as the digital literacy coordinator. So right now I'm developing some workshops and work simulations for our participants with disabilities to gain confidence in different workplace tools and such. So AI is going to be a part of that curriculum, something that we want to inform them on. I'm also always interested in ways I can use AI to improve my work. I personally am a little skeptical, or I have my own issues with AI, so I'm always looking for ways that I can use it in a way that feels good. So
And
nice
safe.
to meet everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Melody.
Hi, my name is Melody. I'm from Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council, and at a personal level, I use AI for admin tasks like people have kind of touched on, mainly taking meeting notes because that really alleviates some free time for other things. Our organization as a whole is just kind of now working on policies related to AI, and the program that I work on, I'm the practice coordinator for Hello Seniors, which is a social work services program for seniors. So we're trying to gauge kind of how our outreach and general support workers might use AI and kind of the implications of that when they're dealing with client data.
Okay, thank you. Now we have an interesting label on this image here. Pearson's 944320. Which do you normally go by? Is it the 944320 or?
Great question. I hadn't paid attention to that, but I'm Tanis Pearson, so that would be the TP. So I'm with Women Building Futures. Thanks for having us. Yeah, as I said, Tanis Pearson, she, her. And I'm a senior manager of client activation and recruitment. So working with our engagement processes, but we're also, I have oversight over admissions, and that's where we're looking at using AI to help us review our applications faster, kind of reduce the manpower there. Currently, we're using, Copilot and using that for administrative tasks and so on, but we haven't really dove in either. Policies are definitely needed, so I'm looking forward to all the information that I can gather. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Linda.
Good morning. My name is Linda DeVoe. I'm the Internal Controls Manager with UCAN. A large part of my position is building policy around everything from health and safety to HR and now possibly how we're going to use AI in the workplace. So I'm interested and cautious about AI and just want to learn more and see where we can apply it.
Great, thank you. Now, there's a number of people not on the screen, but on the call. So if anybody wants to introduce themselves, can you just turn your camera on quickly and we can do that? Or we can just move on. You don't have to introduce yourself. So, did somebody just appear? Yes, Adi.
Hello, my name is Ade Abiono. I'm the program coordinator with Edmonton Neighborhood Watch. And like Anne-Marie mentioned earlier, we're still taking baby steps with AI. I'm quite familiar with AI, and we're looking to see how we can improve or develop an AI policy within the organization. We also provide training and workshop for seniors to help them learn how they can prevent themselves from being victims of AI scams, as that's quite prevalent right now. And we also provide some guidance to our students and volunteers on how they can use AI as well. So I'm just basically here to learn more. As you know, AI is evolving on a daily basis, and it's very difficult to catch up with all the different tools that are out there. So
Yeah, there are
just here to learn more.
over 50,000 different AI tools available. So I'm not going to go through
Yes.
all of them today, just to
Mhm.
it would take more than a day. Anybody else want to
Yes.
share before we get
Thank
going?
you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'll get into this work. I am been involved with I actually run a not-for-profit, but I've also been involved in the sector for a long time. But my kind of day job has been to be a university prof, both at Athabasca University when I was Dean of Business, but also now at the University of Alberta. And I teach people in the education world, K to 12, about how to think about AI to support students with special needs or students with learning challenges, or to support them as teachers or principals or superintendents. So what I want to do is walk you through some thinking about AI for the nonprofit sector. And this comes from this new book that Deborah Hurst and I almost finished writing now. And so this is part of some work I'm doing for that book, but also for the journal that I put a link in the chat so you can connect to something I wrote for them. And they've commissioned a number of pieces from me in the next couple of months. So here's the rationale for why AI could be helpful. The demands on all of you are going up. The resources are either flat or declining. Volunteer numbers across the sector are either flat or declining. But the demands from our funders to report on what we're doing and to report impact are getting more demanding. And lots of the organizations around the table today, but in the sector as a whole, in Edmonton there are over 7,000 not-for-profit and charitable organizations. The demands on our time and services are getting more and more intense with less capacity to respond. So one of the things AI can do is create capacities that don't depend as much on people, but create some activities and support for the work that people want to do. I want to begin by recognizing that most of the work that matters, if you take something like REACH or the Family Centre or the organizations around the table, our core work is about making human relationships and building human trust. AI doesn't do that. It kind of may do that eventually, but we're at least 5 or 6 years from that happening. Also, AI doesn't understand context as well as we do. You can help it understand context, but it will never get it completely just explore with any AI system what it understands about indigenous ways of knowing or indigenous history or indigenous futures. It doesn't get it. It's a very colonial piece of kit. And whilst AI is increasingly being made to is used to make judgments, they're usually technical judgments, like where shall we sit people on this half-empty aeroplane, is a very technical judgment about estimating weights and capacities and so on, which is very easy for AI to do. But a lot of the judgments we make on a daily basis are too complex for the current AI systems that we're dealing with. We can't eliminate bias in AI. We can't do it automatically. So that's a problem as well. So we have biases towards certain ethnic groups, towards certain, if you look at facial recognition technology, if you happen to be a person of color, then you're in trouble because the facial recognition systems are actually built around the whole notions of, Caucasians. And we still can't guarantee truth or accuracy. It's got a lot better since 2020, but it's still round about just running at between 90 and 95% accurate on certain things and far less for other things. So given that the key thing that we all do is build human relationships, AI is not here to replace our work or us or the intense people work that we do. What it can do is give us more time to do better work in terms of human trust and human flourishing. So the idea of this presentation is what can we use AI for that frees us up to do better work with people. Now, there are some kind of principles that we have a couple of people looking at AI policies. These are the kind of frameworks that have emerged. If you review all of the policies in the non-profit sector in North America, then basically these are the 5 kind of key features of that. No AI system can ever operate without human oversight. You can't let it run even the finances or the accounts of the organization, or the admission process, or the donor process, or the volunteer scheduling. It all needs human oversight. And that's because whilst it's getting better, it still gets things wrong. So we need to have accountability. The second thing, and several of you raised this, is this whole issue of data privacy and data security. I teach at the U of A, and they use a learning management system called Canvas, which is owned by a large corporation. 9,000 universities and colleges around the world had to suspend the use of this system because it was hacked, and the hackers were demanding ransom from the owners of this software, which they eventually had to pay. And the ransom people promised that they have deleted the 9,000 sets of complete student data that they'd hijacked from the system. So we do have, and this is live, it's still an issue for, we were teaching on Tuesday and the system wasn't fully functioning. And we have these kind of issues. Somebody mentioned, AI-enabled fraud and fakes. It's still a big issue. One of the things that, I'm disclosing that we're recording this, and that part of that recording Zoom will create a transcription of it. We don't release the transcript. So anything you say here is recorded on video. And you can ask us to say, look, I don't want the transcript being released. And we don't generally. But I think the disclosure requirement is a critical requirement of any policy. And one of the ways, in addition to human oversight of AI output, so I have a big report that's due at the end of next week, I have 3 different AI systems evaluating the report that another system produced in addition to myself and my executive assistant reviewing it. So you need to really verify intensely significant resources coming out of the system. And one of the principles that many non-profits have adopted and charitable organizations is only use AI when it advances the impact your organization can have. In other words, it increases capacity to give you more chance to have more impact given your mission and mandate. So these are kind of some of the policy frameworks. There are lots of policy documents out there, and if you're interested, some of you writing policy, let me know, and I'll have a chat with you about what some of those look like. One of the other things I've been looking at is what most kind of implementations of technology in organizations don't go very well. Around about 78% of all technology changes and transformations fail. And the reasons for that are complicated. There are all sorts of different reasons for it. But one of them is that we're not sure that the leaders of the organization are fully behind this. So if they don't actually directly support something, it's less likely to take hold. One of the things that happened last week, I was with my MBA students for a full week in Calgary last week, and we had a presentation from a very senior vice president about their deployment of AI. And the first thing they did was encourage staff to play within certain rules. So there were rules about what you could put on the system in terms of identification of people or company corporate data. But they wanted people to play and then play and share. And they could play either in their home environment, play at home, tell us what you're doing. So some people had taken photographs of what's inside their fridge and asked Gemini to suggest 4 different recipes for this evening's meal. Some staff had used it to create a children's story with video and animation. Others had used it to solve a work problem. 1 or 2 had created a simulation that they could use for staff development. But they all came at lunchtime and did a lunch and learn and shared what they were playing with, and then they talked about how could we use this inside the organization to help us do the work we do every day. Quite a lot of you have data in all sorts of different places. Some in spreadsheets, some in specific proprietary software, some on bits of paper, all sorts of data all over the place. At Athabasca University, when I returned in 2003, having been away for a while, we had 72 different sources of truth and data. And trying to get them into one place with one data, we called it a data lake, was a nightmare for us to try and achieve. You do need some of these policies and governance rules about what you can and can't do, so people are not anxious all the time. The best way to get stuff to move is to do it piece by piece, to do it slowly rather than a big bang. And you're going to have to fund some of this, because even though the things I want to show you today are largely either free or exceptionally low cost, at scale, if you take the family center and the number of staff and the number of clients it deals with, you're talking about having to make some investments of cash. And there's nothing worse than having a great idea and piloting on 10 people and then realizing that if we get to scale in this organization, it's going to cost us, like $20,000 a year, which we don't have. So think about what some of these things, some of them are free, but the free versions are often limited when you get to try scale them up. Some of you already said some of these things. I was with the city of Edmonton week before last, and they were saying the number of grant applications from non-profits is up by about 30% because AI is writing a lot of the grants. Here's the kicker. Because there are so many grant applications now, the city is using AI to evaluate the grant applications. So we have AI generating applications, AI evaluating them, and then a person comes into the loop to sort out this mess. So, but scanning grants are using an agent to find out what RFPs are being issued or what opportunities for funding is available is a very simple and good use of an AI agent. And I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Some of you are using it for scheduling volunteers. You talked about drafting reports. Terrific resource for analyzing lots and lots of data quickly. Or, as we're doing elsewhere, we're doing board briefing notes and briefing videos and briefing podcasts for board members based on documents and resources that we create. I'll show you that in a minute. A bit more risky, so donor management, which one of you is already using, but donor prediction and forecasting. So if these patterns continue over time, what does our donor situation look like a year from now? That kind of stuff. In the family center, or those of you dealing with homelessness or 24/7, whatever it may be, then not actually managing cases, but doing the support for cases, checking that you've got a tracking of what's happening to this person, who's handling that now, where is it in our in our list of activities that we're supposed to do. And so these are the kind of you've also got someone in the room doing some of the social media, and I'll give you an example of a few chatbots that we've been involved in developing recently. So these are the kind of tools that we're talking about. Some of you are using Copilot, which is kind of a limited tool, good but limited. Most of us are using things like Claude or ChatGPT, particularly Claude 4.7, which was released on Monday, and ChatGPT 5.5. They're all similar, and they all do similar things but subtly different. So if you have the same prompt in each of these front-end AI assistants, you will get different answers. So, which is important to know, because if you're trying to look at, is this the best version of this report I can write, you could get different feedback by feeding it to all of these front-end AI assistants. I will be talking a bit about AI agents as well, because I think they're the future, but they have a big implication for entry-level jobs and youth unemployment, which I'll also talk about as we go through. So I mentioned that there are something like, this changes every day, there's something like 30 new AI tools released every working day. So currently there are about 50,000 specialist tools, not the generalist ones we just looked at, but specialized tools that deal with over 11,348 different tasks related to 5,205 job categories. This is from a site called There's an AI for That, which updates every morning to tell you what's new today, and then briefly reviews each of the new tools so you know what you can use. So if you say, I wonder if there's a tool that does this, go to There's an AI for That and search for that tool, and there probably is. It will also give you a chance to look at it and work out how much it might cost or what some of the issues are in using it. So I've talked about some of the weaknesses. We still have problems with truth and hallucination. So sometimes it will tell you stuff that's simply not true. We have problems about verifying information. So for example, in my world as a writer, if I want to verify quotations or references or financial analysis, it's difficult to do because we're not quite sure how much is true and how much is not. So we have to check everything. And it can be too vague and not very precise. But it does have these other strengths that you can see on the screen. All right, so that's the setup. I want to talk about some basic ways of working with it. Now, there are still a lot of people who use AI as if it was a big Google search engine. Tell me the answer to this, or tell me more about this, or what do you know about this? that's not how good prompts are written. So there's a kind of rubric for writing a good prompt. And I'm going to use a concrete example. I serve on a board in Ontario where we do quality assurance for all of the programs offered by all of the public colleges. So if I was writing a prompt, I'd say, this is my role. This is the tone and style of the work I have to do in this role, and these are the expectations that people have of the work I produce. So that's the role description. Here is the information I am providing to you. Here's how it was generated. This is what it's meant to be explaining or exploring. Next, the structure. This is what I want you to do. I want you to do this analysis. I need a table. I need detailed financial, whatever it is I need. So I've got a role statement, an input statement, and a structure statement about what I'm looking for the AI to do. And then before you give it to me, I want you to evaluate this so you correct any kind of hallucinations, check for hallucination and error, check for accuracy of citations or references. And then having written that, which might be 2 pages or 3 pages, I can then say to the system, before you start work, ask me 5 questions so that you and I both understand what we're trying to do. And the systems will then ask you questions. And if you're not happy with the kind of direction of these questions, you can say, ask me 5 more. Once you're satisfied, it understands what you're asking, what you are asking the system to do, and it understands that, then you can say, okay, now produce a sample piece of work. That's what a good prompt system looks like, and it's not what a lot of people do. So that's one kind of piece. And I think, I think this process, the RISE process, is a bit more demanding of us, but it produces better results. And once you've created that prompt, you can repurpose it for other things within that role with similar inputs, with a similar evaluation requirement at the end. The only thing that changes is the input and the structure of what you want. There's a process that this is really reflecting. Now, when you get the output from an AI system, it's basically done the build part. But that's when your work starts. So you're going to have to push the system. One of my rules is never accept the first thing that the system is producing. So I use ChatGPT quite a bit and Claude. Never accept what it produces first. Challenge it to do better. It particularly responds well to mild abuse, apparently. So saying like, I thought you could do better than that. I don't need a paper full of bullet lists. I need a narrative document. I need better references. I need more recent references. You've not taken this into account that's in one of the inputs. So try again and get it right this time. So slight tone of anger in your voice will get it to do better work. I don't know why. And then we have this work to do of adapting it. Accuracy, relevance, making sure the voice reflects us. You can always ask it to do again, but use my sample document to use that voice and that style of writing to rewrite what it is you produced. And then I have to be ready with my peers and my colleagues to defend what it is that the system and I have produced together. What essentially these 2 processes do is treat AI as a co-intelligent partner, right? And so what I'm doing is training it, and it's learning, so my systems now know how I think, know what I'm looking for, know the kind of writing style. They even know the font I prefer, so that we will start to produce better products first time out. So there's less time taking in doing the adapt, rebuild, adapt, rebuild kind of cycle. So here's what some things can do. And I'm going to show you a couple of these things in action. So a lot of you have a ton of resources. So I'm going to come out of this system and go into another one. I'm going to show you what Google Notebook looks like in practice. So let me now go into here. Okay, come out of sharing that, and just give me a sec. Here we go. I'm going to show you Google Notebook. So the first thing to know about Notebook is it's free. So this is a free resource from Google, and it deals with one of your issues, which is, how secure is this information? And the answer is it's totally secure because it's not connected it's not sharing your resources with anybody else. These are your notebooks. The only person that can see what's in these notebooks are you, or whoever else you give access to this notebook to. So one of my tasks at the moment has been to work with Edmonton Catholic schools to help them think about how AI could help students with special needs like autism or exceptionalities. And what I've done is put a lot of material about that into this particular notebook. And I chose to look at, actually, let me come out of here and go somewhere else. These are all the different notebooks I have. And as you see, I'm covering up a lot of different kind of material. So this is the resource I'm developing here, and I can go into this studio and it will suddenly create from all the material I put into this notebook, it can create a podcast, an infographic. So if we just click this, it will quickly develop an infographic. It will create a slide deck. It will create an animated video overview. It will create a mind map. It will do all these things, and I can have up to 100 documents in here, and it will start to produce resources that I can start to use in work. I can start to edit the slide deck. It will produce a really good one. It will look terrific, but I have to still adapt it and make sure and verify it for accuracy and adapt it to my context and my circumstance. So this notebook, you can have up to 100 different notebooks, each of which can have up to 100 documents or resources inside them. And a notebook can include videos, podcasts, texts, PDFs, images, whatever you want. And then you use that to really create resources. So I'll give you another example. We could use Google Notebook to create an impact assessment of what's going on with an organization. We could put every document that describes what we're up to. We could put Excel spreadsheets in there that says this is the outcomes of our interventions. We could have case studies, and then we could generate various kinds of reports, infographics, storyboards, also videos, podcasts, based just on the resources that you share. So and then if you get serious about Notebook as an asset, and Pembina Pipelines use this extensively, as did the Catholic School Board in Calgary, they have bought a license so that any individual using this can have up to 500 notebooks with 150 to 200 documents or resources inside. And you can also share access to your notebook. So you can say, well, for this notebook, I'd like to share it with these people. Here's who I'd like to share it with. And you can add their names. And each notebook could be for a different team inside your organization or a different group of people. The other tool I wanted to share, I'll come back to why this is useful in a minute, but while I'm here, I'll share this agent. So this is called Nebula, nebula.gg. So here's the URL. And these are my AI agents, and I'll stick with the special education report since we have the Autism Society on board. And this is for my work with Edmonton Catholic. Every Friday afternoon, I get a report from the system that summarizes what's new this week in relation to the use of AI for working with special education students in schools around the world. It's looking at academic journals, newspaper reports, magazines, teacher magazines, parent magazines. It's looking at any source. And it then summarizes the major developments. This is just in 1 week. I've asked it to look at issues, concerns, and failures, and then to summarize what do we know about its use with teachers, educational assistants, specialist support, so school psychologists, occupational therapists, and so on. It's an American system, so it doesn't know how to spell proper words like behavior. And then look at district consultants. Essentially then I asked it to say, so what are some of the cross-cutting themes when you look across these kind of different deployments of AI this week? And so this gives me an insight into what's happening out there. And if I used a human research assistant to do this, this would have been, like a month's work, just trying to find these sources. I don't have to do anything. This comes to my inbox on a daily basis. And as you see, I'm involved with a number of different projects. So we have another one working on a different kind of issue. This is what's going on in terms of the impact of AI on entry-level work. And this runs every day for me. I get this report every day because I'm actually consulting a lot about this right now. And so I get all this stuff instantly, fully aware then of what's going on around the world. It may miss something, but I didn't know a lot of this stuff was happening anyway. So I'm ahead of the game by just having agents doing this work for me. This could be about anything. My colleague who runs a national non-profit organization has 42 agents checking on each of the partners that he's responsible for. So he has one running on each of the organizations he's accountable for. He has some working on the big policy issues at the provincial level, territorial level, and federal government level that he has to stick handle. So when he starts work every day, he has a fantastic briefing resource that costs basically $20 a month. Now, if you had everybody with their own agents, that's $20 for every staff member, but you probably don't need all those people doing all this work. So I'll come back to the slide deck and take you through what some of the other tools are that I think are useful for you to play with. But those two, Nebula and Notebook, are hugely powerful. And the other thing that's nice about them is they're incredibly affordable. So let's get back to the slideshow. So this is why I think Notebook LM is something you should look at. You can do these things by really pushing Notebook to work on your behalf. For those of you with social media kind of responsibilities, it produces terrific two-person voice podcasts, and you can interrupt and record your interruption and they'll respond to your issue that you raise, hang on a minute, tell me more about that. It will do that, and you can capture that and share that as if it was a podcast you'd help to create. You should disclose where it came from. So this is what it can do. But I think the kind of huge opportunity is this using it to develop impact assessment analysis. Now, the rule in the nonprofit world is impact is about data and stories, right? Data doesn't tell the story, and stories don't actually capture the data. So you need both. And I think Google Notebook is a vehicle for getting a lot of material, up to 100 documents in each notebook, one per project area. For example, you could have a notebook for each project area that you're working in. And that could be your constantly updated impact assessment and analysis tool. And this is the kind of thing that I'm thinking about as how you could use to create a systematic narrative and impact analysis using this kind of tool. So when you see the slide deck, and everybody will get one, you can play with it this way. What I would then do if I got a really good impact set of resources from Google Notebook is I'd throw them all into a large language model like ChatGPT and DeepSeek and say, review this impact assessment that came out of Notebook as if you were the funder, as if you were a potential donor, as if you were a volunteer trying to answer the question, does my work make a difference? So I think there's tons of stuff you could do to really push the use of AI tools to get better impact assessment and better impact resources. When you have a lot of data in Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets or some other form of data repository, you can use AI tools, and almost all of them can be embedded in Excel right now and in Google Sheets to have a conversation. So we used to have to program analysis of an Excel spreadsheet, write a technical analysis formula at the top. Now I can just have a chat, literally a chat, I don't have to type, with an Excel spreadsheet, build a dashboard that shows me the 6 significant things that have the most impact on that column of output activity. Done. So I think these are some of the questions that we could ask for a complicated spreadsheet. That used to be very difficult, and now anybody, particularly people that are wanting to interrogate to really understand what this data shows, can have a chat with an Excel spreadsheet. So this is how you do it. And again, these slides will all be available to you. But when I did it for a particular organization recently, this is what we found. So this is a true story. We had this massive data set about the work of this organization. And in 2 minutes of chatting with this spreadsheet, it says, look, if you only have one partner, you're less likely to produce impact and outcomes that you're looking for than if you had 3. Funding above 40,000 for this level of activity shows diminishing returns. And if you have, if you invest in training up to 30 hours, you're going to have more impact on the outcomes that you're looking for. It told us all that in just a second or so. So this is how, this is a kind of quick review of how to do that. I'm not going to go through this now, but you'll get the slides so you can have a good look later. Now, you're hearing a lot about chatbots, and through some work that we've done with AFKA, Foster and Kindred and Kinship Association, the Alberta Foster and Kinship Association, they've just built a chatbot. It cost them about between $15,000 and $18,000, but it's actually doing a massive job. So every foster carer in this province, or every kinship carer, now has access, or will shortly have access, to a 24/7 support system that says, if this has happened, this is what you need to do. So if something's happened and you're governed by law and regulations and the arrangements that you made with the foster care association, then now you know exactly how to respond to the situations that you're in. What used to happen is people used to ring the ministry, and it depends who they rang, what response they got. Now everybody's getting the same answer. You could also do it for lots of other things. So there's some conversation about building a chatbot for all Alberta nonprofits about housing and newcomer support. So that's a possibility. This is where we could collaborate across organizations to pool resources to build something powerful that everybody could use. And they're catching on because they work. They're available 24/7. They can be accessed through a simple phone, through a web space, or through your own support services. They can be either client-facing or support staff-facing, so your volunteers and your own staff could use them, or you could make them available to clients. You have choices. And it used to be an expensive process, but now it's getting fast and easy. I think by the end of the year, we could be building chatbots on demand almost. And that's almost happening now. A lot of you involved in training and development of your staff. And again, there's all sorts of uses of AI systems for training and development. And so here's some of the examples of what some learning systems are doing. One of the things that we're seeing more of is the use of simulations. So AI-enabled simulations, which are now pretty easy to build. It's a set of prompts, and the AI system takes you through these. And if you're a new staff member, you could do your orientation and staff development joining activity, your onboarding, through simulations of how would you deal with this? Well, this is how we deal with it here. And so, the simulation could help you assess the knowledge, capabilities, and skills of somebody that you've just hired, and then know how to invest more in their training and development. I've talked about agents like Nebula, the ones I just showed you. Lots of different uses for those. The three big platforms for agents that are used by nonprofits are these three: Jotform, Nebula, and MindStudio. But there's like thousands of them, and all of the major platforms like Gemini and Claude and so on have AI agent capacities built into them now. So you already have examples of what agents could look like. These are some of the prompts that I created for my reports that I just showed you. But again, we have to do that, that process of building a complex prompt, ask the system to ask you questions to make sure it understands you and you understand it. And then we have to say what format we want it in, and then get a sample and challenge it to do better. Some of you are using AI for donor engagement, for finding grant opportunities. And again, we could be using agents for finding potential donors or finding new grant-getting opportunities. So this is the kind of process for doing that work. For some work I'm doing for the federal government, I was asked to look at what AI tools are in use, and here are some of them from across Canada. There's a lot of stuff going on with AI. So I think, again, there's an opportunity to find an organization that's further down the road than you are and say, can we just have half an hour, tell us what you've learned, and what would you do differently if you were starting off now doing what it is we intend to do. So you could quickly find out who's doing something similar to what you're thinking of and find a connection, find a contact. You could use ChatGPT to find them and then have a conversation with them. You all raise these kinds of issues of data security, privacy. Some of you bias and fairness. Some of you didn't raise but might have done the issue of intellectual property. If in the indigenous communities that we're working with right now, data sovereignty is a huge issue, but it's also an issue for you. Where does this data sit? Who has access to this data? Who owns access to this data? Now, all the big models, Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, you can download for a local deployment so that the material and information you share doesn't go up into the big bad world. You can still hold sovereignty of your data. It's called local sovereignty. And you can also have personal sovereignty of your data. But I think that's something you should make sure you're complying with your own organizational rules. And there are both federal and provincial rules about privacy and data security that we need to comply with. So you need to be aware of what they are, particularly if you're doing policy development right now. So, I think this is what the work is. Prioritize this security issue. Be mindful of bias. Be able to explain what you're doing, why, and how it fits to the mission. Have very robust human oversight. And engage your stakeholders in designing how AI is used. One of the things we're finding in the K-12 work that we're doing, and we have networks of schools around the world that we're working with, the kids know more about AI than the adults in the room. So we've involved the kids and the teachers and the principal of a school and some of the central office staff in designing how they might deploy AI. And by having students at the table, I tell you that we have a better use of AI than we would have done without them. So I think these kind of practices are central to what we want to do. So I'll stop there and see what your issues and questions are. So I'm back with you all. See what you have to say. Questions, answers. Anne-Marie, you have a hand in the air and waving.
Yes, I'm trying to find my actually. I tried to find my actually hands section. I couldn't find it. Thank you very much for the generosity of going through all of that outlet for us. It was quite impressive. I have two quick questions. One is, when the back end of my programs are updating my database, I see a lot of AIs come in. I guess it's attached to Microsoft Office. If we're going to be using AI, do we, for AI to know our business model and what we do, etc., our mission, should we use one specific AI, so whenever we want to ask a question or create a data or whatever we're going to do, they remember our organization by putting what they knew before, what they have done for us, to implement into the next request that we
Right.
want them to do.
Yeah.
Because
So,
right now, whenever I'm doing a research on crime stats, for example, I know AI pop up first, and then you can go through different website to find additional information. Can you use different AI for different things, or we just stick to one specific AI who understands our organization so we don't have to be repetitive? That's my question. Thank you
yeah.
so much.
Yeah, and my answer would be AI systems learn from each time you interact with them. They learn
I can't
not
hear
only.
you.
Oh, you should be able to. Okay. Um, can others hear me? Can you just say that? If you can hear, yeah. Okay, Anne-Marie.
Yep.
Okay. AI systems learn, and they learn both who you are, how you work, what your expectations are. So if you keep moving around to different ones, you're essentially always starting again. So I think it's best to say, look, I'm going to use X, and it really doesn't matter. They're all very similar. I'm going to use that as my primary resource. If you use the prompt system I outlined, the RISE system, you have a prompt document that gives context and explains, what it is you are, what your role is, what context is. And you can move that if you decide you're not getting a good answer from Gemini, and you say, let's try Claude, see what Claude has to say. You can use the same prompt document and it will begin to learn again. But the more you move around, the less learning the systems will have. So I think that should answer your question. Thank you. Who's got another observation, question, comment? Anne-Marie has lost audio and she's on mute. You're on mute, Anne-Marie. Okay, another question or observation.
I'll speak up. I'm very excited. I do use AI. I think this is really inspiring and idea generating in terms of what possibilities exist. I also have this other side, and maybe other nonprofit folks can relate on the environmental impacts of AI, and I wanted to understand, if you've considered that, and what if you're hearing about any specific models that are less damaging, which have more of an eco-conscious lens and practice.
Yeah, I'm very conscious of the fact that the AI sector is now has a larger impact than transportation on our CO2 emissions. Not to mention the impact on water supplies, which is one of the reasons that the AI companies are interested in the north of Alberta, because one of the ways you can cool a data center in the winter is by opening a door. Like, it's -40, great. So there are a couple of models, particularly in the learning domain. There's a company in Edmonton called Onlia, which is owned by Jonathan Schaefer and his good lady. And they have developed a model that doesn't demand so much capacity in terms of connectivity and power. And I think you'll see over the next, and Jonathan's view is, by the way, that we'll all be on micro data centers quite soon, rather than these huge data centers. That just like we have a green energy grid where putting a solar panel on your roof can make a difference, it will be the same for data centers. We'll have a kind of panel you can put at the side of your house, which does the work of a major data center right now. So there's a lot of work going on within the industry about how we solve this problem of greenhouse gas emissions and water use. So yeah, it's a big issue. And it's a trade-off. It's like, do you still drive a car, or are you still using gas? These are all trade-off questions we have to ask. But it's a good one, Tennis. And there's no simple, easy, quick answer to that. But over time, you will see a kind of solution to that thing start to emerge. Thank you. Another question. It's 12:39. So just another couple of questions. Anybody else? So the slide deck and the video of this session will be shared with you. And my email is kind of murgatroydstephen@gmail.com, all one word. So if you want to follow up, please do. But I kind of consult and write and teach for a living. My kind of mindset is I have a set of research assistants that I would normally have to hire and spend a year training, and then they'd leave and I'd have to start again. I'm kind of out of that. I do have a full-time research assistant right now, funded by one of my clients, but the rest of the work that she and I do together is all in partnership with AI tools like the ones I've shown you. And I'm able to do, I think, a lot more work, a lot more productively in a lot less time. So actually, basically I just work until 1 o'clock and then that's it. And I think that's a great thing for a man of 75 to be able to take a break in the afternoon and have a nap. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't deliver the services I'm being asked to deliver if I was working it without AI tools. And if I can save half a day in terms of productive time and yet deliver more than I was doing before, isn't that the kind of problem we're trying to solve in the volunteer non-profit sector? That's the underlying question you should ask. I think it would be very strange for an organization in 2026 that's trying to have a social impact that wasn't using AI tools to help it do it. So that's the kind of political position I might take. All right, it's 22. Do we have any other observations about AI before we finish? Not seeing anybody ask any questions. In which case, I think a smart thing to do would be to say thank you very much. This video and the slides will be available shortly. I think we're looking to do that through YouTube. Are we going to put them up on? Yeah, we'll put them up on our YouTube space, and we'll share the PowerPoint deck through our website. So thank you very much for your time. Hope it was interesting and of value. Meantime, be well, stay well, have fun. It's a long weekend. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Anne-Marie, have you still got sound problems?
Can you hear me now?
Yay!
Yes,
You couldn't
sorry,
hear us,
I didn't hear. I'm just going to.
Yeah.
We just didn't hear a second.
I can't mute. Yep, great. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry, I have a terrible cold here. I'm recuperating. I didn't hear what you say.
But basically, what I said, Anne-Marie, was it's better to use one consistently than to use 10. But if you write the prompts in the way that the RISE system talks about, right, this is my role, then you can move that prompt, editing it for purpose, between one system and another. So it kind of helps you bridge, because Claude's really good for writing long pieces, whereas ChatGPT is good for short pieces. So there's some different features of these things. But if you use a rigorous prompt, I mean, the one I wrote for the Ontario Colleges system is 7 pages long. But it works every time, and it doesn't matter which of the systems I'm using, because it understands meaning, context, and purpose.
I just want to mention to you, last year, I tested Microsoft AI, Companion AI. It's regarding a stats we were doing for our board meeting. And it's a bit complicated. There's a lot of things in there what I told Microsoft AI to do. And they said, working on it. And I said, is there anything I can help you with after an hour? And it was after 2 hours. And I sent a message, is there anything I can assist you with? Any more information? No, I could gather everything. And I set my computer, and until from 9 in the morning I checked again to almost close to midnight, the AI was still working on the document. And I thought that's the first time I tested it. And I thought that was very, very strange.
It is. But, so the way
I never got the document at the end.
No, I was going to say, I bet you didn't. Because they work on tokens. And so they allocate you a number of tokens. And if to analyze a document and meet your requirements, you used up all your tokens, it just sits there and spins.
Oh.
Right. So it's particularly with Microsoft. Microsoft is not my favorite organization generally. And I think their Copilot is the weakest of the lot. I much prefer to use Claude or Perplexity or ChatGPT. And
Okay.
ChatGPT, if it says, look, the best way for me to deliver what you want is for you to break this task down into three parts. And then it can do, if you ask, if it's a 200-page document you're trying to get out of it, it'll go nuts. It will go around in circles and go off to the Hebrides and come back again. But if you say, okay, I'd like you to write one chapter at a time or one section at a time, it can manage that with the number of tokens allocated for the task.
Thank you so much. Thank you
My
for
pleasure.
being. Is there another course after this? Just
We can talk.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for everything.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Jonathan. So, Kelowna. You're stuck in
Yeah.
Kelowna enjoying yourself, eh?
Well, no, I come and I work out of here for a week each month. I've been doing that for the last year and a bit. It's
Smart move.
part of the pre-retirement plan. I've got one leg there and one leg here.
Right. There have been days in the last few months where I would have stayed there permanently.
What I find is that it gets frustrating coming back to Edmonton each time because you see the nice weather here, and then you go back to Edmonton. It's like, what, more of this? What, more of this?
I know.
Whereas normally you just kind of deal with it.
Yeah, we were in Vancouver. We came back and it was, minus. It had been plus 16 or something. We came back to minus 20, and snow. And give me a break. So was that helpful, Jonathan?
Oh yeah, no, it's always helpful. The more I can do, like it's definitely an evolving technology. It's growing all the time. The more you can learn, the better. One thing I found that was interesting a while back is that I asked the different resource. I asked Genesis, I asked ChatGPT, and I don't know if I asked Claude, but I asked them which ones was the best one to use. And I was surprised that the response wasn't biased. I was expecting a biased response, but it wasn't. Most of the responses were objective. It depends.
Yeah. And there's an analysis process that they all go through once a week. There's a league table against certain times of tasks. And, they move up and down this league table. Some weeks Gemini's at the top, some weeks it's in the middle. But that's the response I would expect the system to give you. And they're getting better at being, responding to, oh, that's not good enough. Come on, smarten up. They're getting better at saying, okay, now I understand exactly what it is you're looking for. So I think we're kind of moving down the closer to human ways of thinking route. Nowhere near on the emotional side, but on the cognitive side, there's lots of really amazing developments in the last year. Since I did that workshop at the Family Center, things have moved on a lot.
Yeah, no, it's definitely moving quickly.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, well, I thank you very much. That was wonderful. Really, really appreciate your time and your insight.
Thank you, Jonathan. Stay well. Enjoy Kelowna for the last few days or however long you're there.
I'll be back Saturday.
It's rainy here.
Yeah, well, it was raining here yesterday, but we need rain, and Edmonton not so much, but they definitely need it here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I need the wine. We need the wine. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Yeah, if you could send Blue over here can upload it on YouTube and we'll send out the link